So it's kind of first system requirement, right? Then we need to install some basic softwares, then the database installation, then JDK, right? The license server, as I mentioned, there is a license server, right? We have to enroll the licenses, and all the application will refer the license from that server. There are three build basically: the passport, that is which is the authentication service. Then dashboard is your I'll say your reports or data at single place, right? Kind of dashboards. 3D space is like main application, okay, which is a combination of base, your main package, and then on top
Mhm.
of that there are collections, okay, depends upon which functionality the central wise, okay. Basically DS packaging is central wise, okay. The like engineering central, apparel central, the sourcing, right, those kind of actions. So depend upon what client want, they have packaged their builds, okay. But their 3D space is a basic build, okay, which is really required. It's a base component.
Mhm.
uh, After that you need to set up some DB roles, and then the collection installation, okay, then Apache configuration, then this type of installation, okay. So let me go to that where we left basically. Okay, okay, fine. These are collection installation started. To pull it up. So after 3D space, right, let me go to 3D space first, okay. Okay, 3D space, okay.
Mhm.
So there are installation, right, for different builds. So this looks like this is 3D compass build, that 6W tag build, right? So whenever whichever functionality you want, you need to install that build, okay. It's not all the functionalities are in the main build, that is 3D space.
Mhm.
You need to install the build. So this is 3D space installation, okay. uh, which install your 3D space, 3D compass, and your 6W tag, okay. So your base 3D space, nothing but your all the base, then compass and this 6W tag. The installation is again same. While installation, you need to give the database steps, database name. Okay. All the
Mhm.
details here. Select database. Then after that, you need to give the all the detail about database, which database you create for this and all,
Mhm.
and the administrator password. Okay, for this user, and that's it. It will install the all this application. Okay. The
Mhm.
next thing is, right, after 3D space, there is a functional specific. Okay. The functionality specific build. So I'm trying to get those build, okay. And there is one more thing, right? After 3D space installation, okay, you can access the URL, okay, if you want, and that
Okay.
URL will contain all the basic functionality, okay, the provided by the matrix
Mhm.
one application, this prediction app. So it will have the OOTP functionalities, okay, and but it will not have any central, okay. It will only have common function like meeting, discussions, folder, documents, right? Those kind of feature which is shared across all the applications, those will be available, okay. But not central specific functionality like part, right, which is belongs to the engineering center, right? The project which is from
Mhm.
program center, right, those will not be available. The base will be available. But yeah, it's you
Mhm.
can create the var out of it, the application, and deploy it down, okay. So after
Mhm.
completion, right, you need to run this command on 3D space, okay, and 3D passport, okay. uh, and need to get it sync, okay. First thing is syncing this, okay. 3D space registration in 3D passport, you have to register that, so it will do the registration. There is some bat file you have to execute. uh, uh, this FE, okay, the fix pack, the same 3D
Mhm.
space FE installation, that is kind of I'll say uh, fix pack, okay, fix pack installation. After a fix pack, right, you can start the 3D space, okay. Okay, you can start the Apache server by running, and then you can access the URL. So there will be two URL basically. The one is cache. It's kind of I think central authentication system or cache. I need to see for C, right? Okay, but it's
Mhm.
authentication system. It's a non-cache environment, okay, non-authentic environment. So in non-cache, right, you will get simple the local host colon 8080, okay, or machine name colon 8080. By using that you can access the URL. But with the cache, you can access the URL by using that the URL which is defined while in service, right, the main URL
Mhm.
with company, right? So those URL can be used. So you can go with like this internal and 3D space. So this is for non-authenticated service, I will say. Okay, the authentication will not happen with passport. Okay, it will authenticate with your database directly. Okay, not with
Mhm.
not with a passport, right? So it will just authenticate with your database only, the 3D space application. But if you go with the cache, it will redirect you to the it will redirect you to that passport first. Okay, whenever you log into 3D, you try to log in 3D space, it will redirect you to the passport first. Okay, then once you
Mhm.
authenticate passport, it will redirect you back to the 3D space. Okay, so that is cache mechanism. But in case of non-cache, right,
Mhm.
it will not redirect, it's plain URL, right? It will be up directly to the 3D space. Okay, you don't need to redirect anywhere. So that's the
Mhm.
main difference here. The only difference is we only share this URL with business users, okay, all the clients and all, and this is for with
Mhm.
developers. Because when you try to debug the application, right, for non-cache, logs will go to that machine only because you are running like 8080 local with machine name, right? So you know where the logs
Mhm.
are going. But if you're working with cache
Mhm.
URL, you just have the URL with you, right? But you are not sure which application it's going on because it's a load balance, right? There might be
Mhm.
multiple applications behind, right? So finding the log, tracing the logs is very difficult. Okay.
Mhm.
So in those cases, your the non-cache application helps you, okay, for the development application, development purpose. So clear about the difference, right? The cache and non-cache.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So once you're done with 3D space, right? Uh, so then the part comes into the specific services, okay, the deployment services. So if I go below, right? Uh, so this is configuration of this 3D space, okay. This is the steps are like maybe almost same. The 10% might be changing because of new release of Tomcat and all. Okay, that might happen. uh, then collection installation. Okay, the collections are nothing but the what application client want. Okay, on top of the base. So just suppose client going with an engineering central. Okay, so he need engineering central, he need bomb centrals. So again, right, whatever the few features which comes under the engine, right, those are not again in one package. Okay, so the
Mhm.
part management is different stuff, then bomb management is in different, then e bomb, then those things are scattered. Okay, little bit scattered.
Mhm.
So you have to get that package, okay, proper, which bits you need, and then install. So if you see here, this enterprise change management, so this belongs to your change management, right? ECR and ECOs. Okay, so that is below
Mhm.
management build. So you have to install that. But for this build, right, installation, it will not ask for a database. Okay, it will just ask the directory where the previous build is installed. Okay, and on top of that it will install.
Mhm.
Okay, so it will not ask for database and all, it will simply install. uh,
Okay.
okay, so before installing this, right, there will be already a file created, the bootstrap file. I will show you that file. Okay, which file is used to create for database connection. uh, so then this enterprise change manager fee. So after that there might be a bomb one. Okay, you see this engineering bomb management. Okay,
Mhm.
so these are different build. Okay, this is bomb management fee. uh, this is manufacturing bomb. Okay, so there are different centrals. Okay, uh, which is fp. Okay, so this is bomb and DMR foundation, so this is different build again. The small functionalities are divided. Yeah, so after build, right, so after installing everything, right,
Mhm.
so you have to generate the war. Okay, it's a web application. Okay, so uh so you need to stop the 30 space service which is already running. Okay, then you have to generate new war file. Okay, how to generate that? So they have already provided some bat files. Okay, so in the installation path inside this code command, and so you will have this build deploy 3D space cache.bat. Okay, okay,
Uh-huh.
it will create the new war file. Okay, and it will deploy that file into the Tomcat. Okay, because we are going to use the internal Tomcat here. Okay,
Mhm.
system knows the path where to put, so it will create and it will copy that there. And again, right, there is one more file called as non-cache bat. You can generate that also. So cache and non-cache, two bat files are different. Okay, those will generate two war files and those will deploy them.
No, but where we need to deploy this WAR file?
Inside Tomcat web app directory, right? Web application. In
Ah,
Tomcat
okay,
we have web application directory, right? Web apps.
okay. But these are all OTP, right? OTP things. Uh,
Yeah, OTB things. Exactly. They have not customized the Tomcat here. I mentioned you, right? So with this batch file, right, what they are doing,
mhm,
they're creating the latest WAR file out of the project. So when, if you know
mhm,
the Java project, right, whenever we do some
mhm.
changes, right, we rebuild
Yeah,
that
yeah.
project and we generate the WAR file out of it, right?
Yeah. So whenever
Similarly,
you do a customization, you create a WAR file like this and then deploy it on Tomcat web app.
uh, two approaches,
Is
okay?
it?
There are approaches, okay? There are, I
Uh-huh.
will say there are multiple approaches, okay? uh, One thing is directly copying that JSP into the extracted folder. See, when you are deploying the war file, what Tomcat will do at the first startup, right, it will extract all that into the folder, right, and
Mm-hmm.
extract all the JSPs, right. It will put all JSPs, then it will create the class folder, right, NF classes. So inside that class it will put all the classes. So it depends upon you, right. If you have a lot of things, just bundle it into the jar and put into the war file, again create a war file. But if you have small changes, right, you didn't need to create a war file again. Just go to that extracted folder into the Tomcat, right, and just put your changes, okay, and just restart the server. Clear?
Mm-hmm.
So that way you can do, okay. We'll go to that, okay, when we start deployment, right, deploying the stuff. uh so for
So
non-cache
once this war, if we don't deploy the war, how it will be? What changes will be done after deploying this war? I just wanted to know the difference before deployment of this war and
oh
after deployment of this war.
So before deployment over, right? So your installation is already done. Okay, your changes, the schema is already installed into your database, right? Uh,
Mm-hmm.
all the installation folder is ready, right? But where you will the access the application URL? Okay, to make that URL up, right? What we'll do out of this installed project, right? We'll create a var, okay, and we'll deploy into Tomcat. So Tomcat is already there installed, okay, but there is no connection,
Mm-hmm.
right? There is no URL. So just to get that URL, right, we have to extract the var out of this project, right, install the project, and then deploy it and get the URL. So we are giving
Okay.
the application nature here,
Uh-huh.
right. As of now we
Yeah,
just
but
install.
this Tomcat we have installed it just like before, or we
There
installed
are
it
two options.
along with this setups.
Yeah, there are two options, okay. You can choose along with this setup. When you choose along with this setup, right, this will work, okay. This OTB bat file will work, okay. But if you don't
Okay.
choose this OTB Tomcat, right, okay, there is some choose bar, okay, check marks while installation. You can choose that, okay. i think
Okay.
i I think I showed you, right. Select Tomcat, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Then this will
Mm-hmm.
install the internal Tomcat, okay,
Mm-hmm.
and this war file will automatically copy. But if you don't choose that, right, this will create one folder, okay, called as let me tell you here, distrib, okay. Inside 3D space it will call the folder called as distrib, okay, and inside that folder it will copy first all the war file. It will generate first, okay, and from that place it will
Mm-hmm.
copy, okay.
Okay.
So it will do first only one step. It will just generate. It will not able to copy because the folder is missing, right. Tomcat is missing internal. Then you need to
Mm-hmm.
manually copy from distrib folder and put into your external Tomcat, whichever is you're using, right.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe after this document, right, I will log into my environment and I will show you, right, how it looks like. I have the external Tomcat, but I can show you that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Then you can log into URL by using the admin user. Okay. The admin user which is provided while installation. Okay. Uh, yeah, after installation the screen will be look like this, okay. You can go to this about and see what builds you have installed. I can show you that. So this, then we have some, okay, so this studio build is deprecated now, okay. So the studio modeling platform, okay, this build was purely for installing the standalone component, okay, like your business matrix system, right. So those are deprecated now. So this build is not available, and they have embedded MQL into the main build itself, 3D space build, okay. So MQL installation will happen with 3D space build only. So this build is no more valid. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I'll show you the directory. Okay. So you will get more understanding. So I'll skip this now because that's ICS FCS. Okay, so there is one more build, right, for file collaboration server, FCS. Okay, that is called as FCS installation, the file collaboration
Mm-hmm.
server. So yeah, so in the Enovia, right, maybe like I'm not sure about the Windchill, right, how they do the file management, but in the Enovia, the actual files are stored into the file server. Okay, that is some folder location of the some machine, or you can use your remote folder, right, or your own folder, localhost folder. So you have to
Mm-hmm.
set those paths. Okay, so only the metadata will be stored onto the object. Okay, for example, you have suppose a product, okay, in the system. Okay, so on that
Mm-hmm.
product, the file path will be stored. Okay, that is encrypted. Okay, not an in the back end. Okay, and the actual file will be stored into the file server. That is kind of folder location somewhere. Okay, that is managed by this FCS build. Okay, there is separate server. We
Okay.
have to install that. Okay, and deploy again into Tomcat, and that URL has to be configured. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so this is one thing. I think that's, yeah. Then this is Apache configuration, okay. And the one I mentioned you, right, the FCS configuration. So you have to set this FCS configuration. So through MQL, okay. Uh, that is, you have to give this path FCS URL, then actual folder path on which drive it is stored. D store, right, and the store
Mm-hmm.
this. This is store FCS, that is FCS URL, and these are the actual paths. Okay, so these are kind of common commands you have to run just to store the path. Okay, the
Mm-hmm.
spinner, right? Spinner, I told you, right? Spinner is something which is used for data extraction and data installation. Okay, for example, right? The customization movement, right? The configuration, customization, how to move from one environment to another environment, right? Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so I believe in the Windchill we use XML configuration, right? XML files, load the data, extract and load, right?
Mm-hmm.
So here,
Yeah.
the spinner is a tool, okay, and which export the file into the CSV format, okay, dot CSV format,
Mm-hmm.
kind of Excel sheet, right? Dot CSV. Uh, and we can manipulate that data manually, okay? It's not like that we cannot manipulate, okay? It's a quite
Mm-hmm.
readable, okay? We can do some manual entries if you're trying to create new data. And if you want to extract existing, it will like extract existing, and you can load the same file into the target environment, okay? So that can be done with the
Okay.
spinner.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, so that is again the tool from DS, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So it has its own build again, okay? License again different, okay? It's not comes with OOTB. You have to purchase license separately, okay? For this.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, that is about spinner. I'll tell you the important commands and how to use it, okay? The basic idea I'll give you. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
this is search indexing, then Tomcat configurations. These are all Tomcat configurations, okay? Okay, so I said like it's load balance. So they created three applications for Tomcat, then they did load balancing. Okay, so for that there are some settings. Okay, you will get
Mm-hmm.
those into the document. Okay, how to do it. So let me log into my. Okay. Uh, okay, so installation folder, right? So this is 15x installation. Okay, so folder is like this. We have this server studio. So I said studio is no more valid. Okay, you have only server. In the current, it's renamed as 3D space. Okay, so you will not see server. It's 3D space. Inside that, you
Mm-hmm.
will have this folder structure. Okay, so inside apps, you will see all the applications installed, but I have not installed anything here. Okay, I have this is copied stack. Okay, so you're not able to see, but this distri folder, right, where the actual war file get generated. Okay, executing that bat file. So you will see there is a war file, there is EAR file. okay, and this is some folder. So we need this war file to deploy, okay. So this is system generated, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. In this case, right, I'm using this external tomcat. Okay, here I have Tommy. Okay, and here is a web apps, and I have deployed that war file. Okay, as I
Mm-hmm.
mentioned, once you start at first time, right, so it will extract that into the folder. Okay, and it will
Mm-hmm.
extract all the data here. So this will have your JSPs, your JS file, your all things. Okay, your classes and all. Okay, so if you go
Mm-hmm.
inside web app, there is the called as web app folder, right? Web app, and you will see all the classes. Okay, so it will extract all the classes here. Okay, for the property file, right, and classes.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go through this, I mean, what property files are later on, but yeah, this is property files and classes. And your all
Mm-hmm.
the libraries, okay, the OTB libraries, maybe third party libraries, right, you have to put those libraries here inside WebINF library folder. Okay, and
Mm-hmm.
each
Mm-hmm.
central has its own folder where central specific JSPs are kept. Okay, for example, if I
Mm-hmm.
go to the engineering, right, the engineering central has this folder, engineering central, okay, and all the JSPs, all the functionalities things are here, and they start with like EMX engineering central, right, EMX bomb, right, because those are like belongs to same central in EMX ECR. So all the JSPs, any file,
Mm-hmm.
JPO, JSP, Java, right, starting with EMX, Ematrix, okay, the long form is Ematrix, because this Enovia is previously the first, right, the first version of Enovia is Ematrix, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there was a company called as Ematrix, okay, who
Mm-hmm.
has a PLM which is completely web-based PLM, okay, the Ematrix PLM. Then this Dassault system has its own PLM, I think called as VPLM, okay, VPLM, and that was a
Mm-hmm.
desktop-based application, okay, that time, maybe
Mm-hmm.
around 2004 or 5, okay, maybe before that also. So what
Mm-hmm.
DS acquired the that Ematrix company, okay.
Mm-hmm.
DS acquired
Okay.
this Ematrix, and DS clubbed these two product together, okay. This
Okay.
purely web-based application and his standalone application, and he prepared this Innovia V6, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So initially they kept the support like business studio, right? All things were there, okay, which is purely a backend application, right? And this is UI.
Uh-huh.
Now they are again moving towards fully a web-based application, okay, cloud, and only providing the MQL support. Now, so
Uh-huh.
that's how the E matrix is, come into picture. So
Mm-hmm.
Ematrix was separate company which is acquired by DS, and this products initially belongs to the Ematrix, but now it's managed by DS. Okay,
Okay.
yeah, and that's why, right, the DS product, the VPLM is like 3D C++ based. Okay, so that's why the base part, okay, the database part is in C++ again. Okay, we are not able to interact with database still. Okay, we just have some APIs exposed. We have to use that only.
So which part means desktop based, which was
Your
developed
database,
by?
database. Yes. Yeah, which is deprecated now, but still, right? On top of database, right? You are not able to do SQL queries, okay? Because
Uh-huh.
you're not able to understand the SQL here, okay? The database are not
Mm-hmm.
clear, okay? They are very scattered, and they know it, okay? They never disclose it, okay? So they have provided a
Uh-huh.
query language called as MQL, okay? It's almost similar to SQL, but it's a MQL, okay? And we have to use
Okay.
that to extract data. So it has its own syntax. You have to learn that language. Okay, so it's simple. I'll go through that. Okay, so we have that
Mm-hmm.
also. So but there is no SQL. Okay, you
Okay.
cannot you cannot query database directly for anything. You have to use MQL only. You're not able to
Mm-hmm.
list table here. Okay, list that table and get all the data. No, that is not possible. Okay, you have to go object wise, go type wise. Okay, so that you
Uh-huh.
can do MQL, but not you cannot go like table wise, select star from this table. No, that query is not available. Okay,
Okay.
so that's the thing here. Okay, so I'll go through that. But this is how the build folder looks like. The Tomcat looks like. Okay, so it's OTP Tomcat. We are just putting this var into the web folder, and we have to just start it. Okay, I don't know it's started or not, but I can show you. Uh, so in web apps, right? Once you deploy, go to this bin folder. It's normal, right? And startup.bat. Okay. So this is startup. Okay, let me see if it's working first. Because currently I'm running some different application here, so port should not be shared.
Okay.
So no, I believe the port is already in use. Okay. Okay, hopefully it's at least. Oh, what happened? Could not open create fruit nodes of the. Let me see if it failed. Let it fail. Okay. Okay, let it be. It will start. Uh, so that's how once it is started, you can access the URL. Okay, that's one thing.
Mhm.
Yeah, the next thing is bootstrap file, right? I mentioned there is a bootstrap file, a connection file. By using this, you are establishing database connection, right? Also, you can change that file to change the database connection. Okay, so this is that bootstrap file called as matrix hyphen r. Okay, so this is your matrix
Mhm.
r file. Okay, which is called as bootstrap file or matrix r file. Uh, okay, so this file contains the database username, database password, which is kind of encrypted, your connection string, okay, which the connection string you're connecting, this is driver,
Mhm.
and this. So for this, you also need to have the database installed. Okay, so client should be installed. So for example, I have the client installed here, okay, on my machine, not on E drive, I guess. Let me see if I Oracle. Yeah, so if you see this network admin, this is Oracle client, and I have this TS name Aura, which is having those connections. Okay, the username, then which machine to connect, right, the port number, the username, password. So those detail you have to create here, okay, in this tsname.ora file. And those should be available in the matrix file. So for example, if you see here, right, what is that? Okay, so I have this multiple file, okay, renamed as like hyphen dev, hyphen test, hyphen test. But currently when I start the application, this will refer the matrix r file. Okay, it will not take any file with another extension, right? So whenever I want to
Mhm.
connect the my dev, right, I use this dev. But when I log into this common dev, I have to use this file. Okay, I will just rename this file back to something else, and I will open this file. If I want to connect to test,
Mhm.
I will do, and this training database. Okay, so you can connect from same machine to different databases. So data will be using from that machine. Okay, your database will be connected, and your all JSPs will be referred from the same system. Okay, not from the production. So we use
Okay.
this when we want to debug some application in like read only operations. Okay, for example, sometimes we're not able to reproduce some issue into the local environment, right? It's only in the production just because it's data issue, right?
Uh-huh.
So just to understand that, right, just to understand that what issue it is, right, we do that.
Mhm.
Okay, just connect, debug the code, right, where it's a breaking, where it's null or something like that, right, where data is breaking. Okay, so that time
Mhm.
we connect to this databases, okay, and do those debugging. So that is local operations. Okay, so once if your database is in the cloud, there is no option. Okay, but this is when you have the database on your premises. Okay, on premise installation. Okay,
Mhm.
so this is the matrix R file, also called as bootstrap file, which is used for connection. Okay, clear? So if you don't, this file is not present, your application will not be able to start, you are not able to do anything. Okay, this is main file. The other file I mentioned is the license server file. The license server is already installed on some different machine, but I have to use that just to work my application. So inside program data, there should be a DSO system inside that licenses, right? And this is the license file. Okay, and inside this
Mhm.
file, it will have just the license server detail. Okay, the license server machine name and the port name. So I see, you see there are three entries, right, with the comma separated. That means this license server is again load balanced. Okay, if something one license server goes down, I don't want to stop my application. Okay, it will refer to the second server. Okay, so that's kind of load
Mhm.
balancing. But license are same licenses deployed on three different machine. Okay, so that's how the licenses work. uh, so if you don't have license, what will happen, right? Not have valid license. you are able to
Mhm.
connect to the backend. Okay, you will able to start all the application which is at the backend, like MQL, the business, right? Whatever, if you have the older version, right? So you will able to
Mhm.
do the customization from backend, but you are not able to log into the URL. Okay, the URL is completely license based. Okay, you will not able to log into your URL.
Okay.
It's clear, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Tomcat is started. So if I show you, right? Oh shit, what happened? I think it closed. Let me see. It's there. Tomcat is started. I just need to find the port now. I don't know port on which port it's running. Okay, let me try on which port it's running. My local environment, not on 80. I'm not able to get the port actually. It's on some different port. Okay. Mhm. Or maybe it's not deployed properly or something like that. But I will make it up. Okay, maybe next session. Okay, I'll see the what port it's running, and we'll go through that. It's not completely started. Okay, there are some issues actually. Looks like.
Mhm.
Okay, I'll make it up. Okay, in the next session. But yeah, that's how we started. Uh, so let me go back to. So I think we already seen this, right? So that's all about installation starting. Okay, that's how we install and start the application. Uh, so yeah, so now let me tell you some things about this install startup, right? If you're working with bigger organization, okay, where a lot of teams are there, right? So there will be separate team for this the admin activity. Okay, there will be a Enovia admin. Okay, who is doing this
Okay.
installation, setting up the activity. You don't need to worry about that. You need to focus on the, what is that, configuration customization. Okay, uh, and
Mhm.
this is, if you're setting up the client environment, it's a very, the proper steps you noted down. It's a lot of dry runs you done, right? Do a lot of things happen, okay, around this. And again, right, there will be a separate team for this. Okay, the admin team, installation team. The database
Mhm.
part is handled by a DB team. Okay, they don't give a control to database. You have to just raise a request, get the database created, right? We need to
Mhm.
just provide them the instruction. I need those databases, so they will create it. Uh, for installation stuff, right? You will get a document from DS. Okay, you have to follow that on your local machines. Okay, and once you do, right, you have to prepare your own document according to that, right? In your own language,
Okay.
right, to understand better, and then try the next installation. Okay. The other thing,
Mhm.
we don't install always from the scratch. Okay, so what we do, for example, we just did one installation, right? Suppose we did installation my machine. Okay, and now you want to
Mhm.
make your environment, right? So in that case, what we do, right? Let me tell you, we just take a database dump. Okay, because my stack is also OTP stack, right? Phrase stack. So take the
Uh-huh.
database from my machine. Okay, and just import into some new database. Okay, and this copy this folder structure. Okay, as it is,
Hmm.
and
Okay.
update this bootstrap file. Okay, sorry, this file has to be generated. Okay, so you need to install one build. Okay, so there is a build called as server management. Okay, so you have to install that build. So this will create the connection. So while giving that, you have to pass the database detail. Okay, and that will create the new bootstrap file. So you don't need to install. So this is setup stack. Okay, you will not see any data here. Okay, because it's just copied one and single build install just for a connection, and then copy all the JSC file. Okay, from there, and that's it. Your database has all the things, and you have the JSPs. You don't need to install it again. Okay, so that's how it works
No,
for
but
developing.
what needs to be installed uh, separately? Like
Oh,
if
there
we
is
are
a
just
build.
copying.
Okay, if you don't find any separate build, right, just install 3D space. Okay, but 3D space installation will fail. Okay, but it will say the build
Mm-hmm.
is already there, right? The components are already there. So there is a build called as let me tell you this. It's server management. Okay, server management. I don't think
Okay.
that build is here. You need to download that build separately. Okay, so I showed you, right, there is a build studio management that was for standard component. So there was like kind of server management build. Okay, so that you have to install, and that will,
Okay.
okay, that will connect to the database. That's it, and you need to copy the latest war file. That's it, simple. So
Mm-hmm.
that's how we set up the local dev environment. Okay, we sometimes we need to refresh from production, right? So we just take the production dump, okay, just import it
Mm-hmm.
into the local database. Yeah, that is also
Mm-hmm.
possible here. uh, Again, for setting up the client specific environment, we take the database dump from the client, okay, and then we set up our
Mm-hmm.
environment. So we never install from scratch. uh,
Okay.
so once you set up the environment, right, your first thing is setting up the people and the organization, okay. So you have to set the few users, okay, and the
Mm-hmm.
organization. So
Mm-hmm.
so let me give you the steps, okay, how to create and open the password. So this is leave it, but I'll go through some training URL here. Is it up or not? Okay, let it load. um, okay, so how to create user, right? So I'll show you the place from where to create user. Okay, this is like creating from the UI, okay. Other thing is you can always load the user, okay. So when you're adding
Mm-hmm.
creating one or two user, that's fine, you can go to the UI and create the users. But for this the client deployment, right, we get the list of users wanted to add from the client, right, and we just
Uh-huh.
load this spin, okay, we create from spinner. We load it from spinner. There is also option of running it from creating a mql file, okay, and run it from mql, okay, the batch file, and execute from mql. That is also option.
Okay.
Yeah. There are multiple options of creating users, at least three options
Mm-hmm.
from UI, from mql by using the batch file, and from the spinner.
Mm-hmm.
So you will see one command here, the my company, okay, in the left hand side menu, in the app collaboration and approval central, okay, application. uh,
Mm-hmm.
you have to click on that. I see some slowness here. Okay, so So this is kind of your company. You have to configure that. Okay, you have to update some details. I'll go through that slide. Okay, then you will see some people tab here. Okay, in the people tab, you will see all the commands to create the user. Okay,
Uh-huh.
so this is that user table. So a lot of all user from the system you will able to see here. So it's loading all the users now. Uh, so once it's the page is loaded, right? I see this application is a bit slow. Uh, so you will get the commands to create user from here. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, and these are some other detail like you can create different regions, you can create your own company calendar, you can put some addresses, right? The currency exchange rates, then product teams, right? So these are some different dog level setting, okay, which is business is using,
We
okay.
can create a groups also or roles also here.
uh yeah, we can create but not here, okay. That is the rules in the Innovia is not cannot be created from the UI as of mine. Let me check that, okay. But you can always create it from the backend, okay, MQL. Yeah, groups are there, groups, roles are, everything is there.
Suppose if I want to create some promotion process, so I want to create some roles like approval roles, reviewer role, like that.
Yeah, you have to
We
create those roles, assign some users to those roles, okay. uh,
mm,
and then there are some OTB things, right? You have the route and route, okay. The route is something which is a promotion cycle, okay, basically, okay. uh, so there is no OTB promotion cycle, okay, here. So you have to create it, okay, policy wise. For object specific, you have to create it, customize it, okay. And
mm,
there are OTB cycles, okay, but you need to add those users there, okay. Okay, so from here, right, you can create a user, okay, create new, okay. uh, see about, so when you click on create new, right, the create form will be appeared here, okay.
mm,
Okay, so you have to give the username, the password, right, the confirm password, the first name, last name. The company is automatically selected here because you are coming from this company. uh, then you have to provide the email, right, okay.
mm.
And so once you go to the next screen, right, you will get the role page, okay, where you can select the role, existing roles, okay.
Okay.
If I just want to go to the next page, I need to fill this, so let me fill this. uh, so if I say next, okay, so you will get the role and groups. You can add that user to specific role and a group, okay. So once you click on add role, the search pop-up will open, okay. It will show you all the roles
Mm,
from the existing system, right. You can choose any of the role and select and say continue. So next is done button. So once you create this, the user will be created, okay. So these are
okay.
the role, like April only, April planner. If you go below, right, a lot of things are there. Contributor, component user, right. uh, so
Mm,
factory developers, right. uh,
mm-hmm.
so a lot of it's all, I will say, custom role plus OTB roles, okay. All the roles you will able to see here. So this
Yeah.
VPLM viewer is the OTB role, okay. VPLM viewer, VPLM leader, right. So these are the OTB
Mm,
role. So VPLM
okay.
administrator, right, the OTB role, matrix administrator.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so same way you can select the roles and the groups also you can select, okay.
Okay.
Just to remove, if you have already selected, you can say select and remove, and you say done, the user is created, okay. That's how the user is created, and you can log in by that using to the application again.
Mm-hmm.
That is one thing. From the back end, those kind of queries, okay, you have to prepare queries to add that user. It's kind of the MQL queries, okay, like add person, right. Person is the object here, okay. So for user, the person is the object, okay. So you have to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll go through that when we touch MQL, okay. But this is how we can create the user, okay. Uh, If you want to add new user, uh, yeah, so businesses, okay. So there was some UI actually, the business modeling studio, okay, but currently it's not available, but I can show you. I have that, okay. I'll very quickly go through that, okay, because it's not available now. So this was the UI, okay, the business, which is purely used for doing the customization, okay. So you have to log in by using the creator user, which is super user, okay.
Mm-hmm.
You can set the password, and once you log in, you will able to see all the schema, okay. Schema means your types, okay, your relationships, okay, your
Mm-hmm.
formats, all the persons, everything, okay, but not the actual data, okay. For actual data there was other application called as matrix, okay, where you can load the objects, actual objects, but not the types, okay. But this will load all your types, all your layouts, okay. So it will show you all everything here, okay. So for example, if I want to see the type, right, I'll go to this, I'll say part, okay, and I will select the type here, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you will see type, okay. So this is one type, part, okay. This is a part, okay, type. These are the attributes on this type. So there are four attributes basically, okay. Then triggers, okay. There are some triggers, okay. So these are the triggers, right? On change name there is some code executing, right? There is on change owner, connect, on connecting something, copy, create, right? So these are the events, okay. These are the events on which a trigger is going to execute. If I open this trigger, you will see some java, this trigger, okay, points, and those are
Mm-hmm.
connected to some java code, okay. Behind the scenes java code is executing, okay, getting invoked, okay. So that's the trigger and attribute. So that's what type has attributes and triggers, okay.
Okay.
Then how this type is derived, right? There are a concept called as policy, okay. So this type
Mm-hmm.
has the policy, okay. There are, you see the lot of things are there, okay. So there are two policies. For example, this type can be invoked from, created from these many policies. What policy defines is, policy defines the rules, okay, the life cycle state, the behavior, right? So that is coming
Mm-hmm.
from. So if you create the type part by using this policy EC part, you will have these many states, okay. But these are the states: the preliminary, review, approved, release, and absolute, okay. These are the state
Mm-hmm.
will be in that part, okay. And on each state, on each state, the which user has access, that is defined here, okay. Which user have what access on that particular state, okay. So state wise access is defined, okay. You can add the
Mm-hmm.
users for the, and you can have the triggers also, okay. So this is promote trigger. That means the while I'm promoting my part from the preliminary to review state, do I want to do
Mm-hmm.
some action, okay? So that is a promote trigger. So if you see, they are adding a check trigger. So there are three type of triggers, okay: check, override, and action. So check means it will check the before action is doing, and action is like after doing the actual action. So for example, promote check, that means before promotion it will do the check, okay. And if I add some
Mm-hmm.
action trigger, that means it will promote the object first and then it will do the action. So kind of sending a notification, right, doing some modification, updating some object, that can be put into the action. But whether your object, the part is ready for promotion, right, all the prerequisites are made, so that check we have to add into the check trigger itself, right. So if you see here, they are checking this whether promote check, and this is all set promote check. So this is a check basically, okay, whether your part is able to promote from this state to this state, the preliminary to review state, okay.
Mm-hmm.
That means all the conditions are made, okay. There might be some, at least one specification should be there, right, at least one review should be there, right, something like that. Then only you can go to the review, right. Without specification, if you are promoting part from the review state, what reviewer will do, right? He needs something to review, right? He needs some data there, right? At least one specification should be there, part specification, there should be some data, right? So that check you can
Mm-hmm.
add here, okay. That is how we can do on trigger. So other way of doing the check is like adding a signature, okay. You can add a simple signature on the in between state, okay. So that
Okay.
signature you have to assign some group, okay, or assign some role for the signature. And
Mm-hmm.
you can also assign some user here, okay. And that user, once user approves that signature, then it automatically promoted to next, okay. So again, it is a blocking state, okay. So that's how it works. We'll go into deep later on, but yeah, this is how type policies and attributes works here.
Yeah, but this is not used right now. This is
This is not used. You have to. So just to understand the concept, right? I'm showing you. I'm going to show you
no,
all things from.
this
Mhm.
tool is not used, but we may be having some alternate options to do
We
the
have a
same thing,
MQL.
right?
We have a MQL, right? We have MQL, the query
Okay,
language. Okay. So to
okay,
understand it better way, right? I'm just showing you this. Okay. Because
okay.
with the MQL, you're not able to, visualize it. Okay, properly.
Okay,
Just to make your basic concept clear, we'll see the business how those are looking and how to see from UI. Okay. So now you see this
okay.
is like this, right? For example, you're able to see this part as like this. Now how to navigate from this part to this other part, right? For example, you are at a part now. Okay, you have part ID with you and you're
Mm,
traversing from MQL, you're writing some query. So how to go from
uh,
part to policy, how to get this right? So these are in between connections. Okay, for example, this is like, for example, let me open. So you have to traverse this. So this indicates the to and from side. Okay, so I'll show you that. Okay, how to go that. But yeah, just to visualize, we are referring this. Okay, otherwise we are going to cover all the queries from MQL. Okay, how to add, how to see, right? Everything.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I will quickly go through this. Okay, slide. As mentioned, right, the business modeler is a component of Enovia platform, right? That business administrator uses to set up the Enovia collaboration platform schema, which represents the company's business model. That means all the schema, the customization can be done from the business. Okay, uh, creating the definitions of the administrative objects. Okay, then maintaining, that is your modifying, right, all the system work. So that is done with a business. Now this is no more valid. Okay, but that can be done in previous releases. So initially how it looks like, once you install, you will see all these applications, right? Business, matrix, MQL studio, the system. Now you have only MQL with you. Okay, all this business matrix system are deprecated. You have the MQL
Mm,
with you. This is business UI, right? How it was looks like you have your title bar, then menu, then your main area, right? uh, So once you install the Innova, right, there will be two users, okay, by default. So one is like,
mm,
so that is different, okay. The while installation, they are asking one more user, right, admin user. That is for first login to the UI, but this is not for login to the UI. Those are for backend, okay.
mm,
So one is a creator and other is a guest. So creator has a full access to the application, okay. It's a full user, okay.
mm,
And this is a kind of guest, just view only, okay. You can just view the data. These are some menus how what can be created, like can create attribute, type, relationship, right, format. All the schema can be created from the business. So that is how they are showing. uh, these are some concept, okay, terminologies, okay, which is used in the every PLM, I will say. The
mm,
attribute, right? So what is attribute? So it's a characteristics or a property assigned to a business object relationship. Okay, it's kind of Java variable, you can say. Okay, what
okay.
value holder? Okay, the property holder, we can say attribute. A type, it's a kind of business object. For example, we have a part, we have document, right? It's kind of business object, so it's a type. The interface concept is a little bit different here. The interface is nothing but a group of attributes that can be added to a business object or a connections. Uh, so for here, as of now, right, just remember that. So whenever you create an object out of some type, right, what it will get,
Mm,
right, it will get only the attribute which is available for that type, right?
mm,
Right, only those properties will be available, right? Those attributes will be
mm,
available. But in some
yeah.
cases we might need to add some extra attribute only on some objects, okay, not on type, on objects. Okay, for
Mm,
example, you are promoting part from promoting to ERP. Okay, you are pushing that part to
mm,
ERP. Then there are some
mm,
attributes which is only related to the ERP, right? You want to add that. Okay, but you don't want
mm,
those attributes to the your normal part which is not already promoted to ERP or not yet ready for the ERP, right? So
mm,
just to specify that, just add extra attributes. You can create some interface which will be a group of those ERP attributes. And whenever your part is pushing to ERP, just add that interface. It will. So only that
mm.
object will get those extra attributes, not all the object from that type. You got it right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's how the interface is used in the Innovia. Interface is nothing but a group of attributes. Okay, basically. Then your relationships. Okay. Uh,
Mm,
Relationship is nothing but a connection between two objects. Okay, for example, part and specification. Okay, so we need to connect specification to the part, right? So there should be a relationship between that, right? So relationship is nothing but again
Mm.
like object. It can have the attributes. Okay, we can have some properties on that relationship also. And just here, right, in the Enovia, okay, you can modify the OTP relationship. Okay, you can create the new relationship. It's not like that the strict connection between two objects. Likewise, the eventual, right?
Okay.
Here you can create the new relationship. Okay, you can add the new object, you can add the new relationship, right? And you can add the
So
attribute to
we
the
can
relationship.
create this relationship using MQL only, or
Yes,
like how?
yes, yes, MQL only. MQL only. So currently the option is
Mhm.
available from the business, but you can create it from MQL also. Okay, so you can create the
Okay.
relationship also. So you can create a
Mm-hmm.
complete new schema here. Okay, you don't need to go with the OTB type also. You can create new different two object. You can prepare your own relationship, right? Everything is possible there. Okay. uh then we have formats. Okay, so you can create your own formats. Okay, what formats will be there, what files you can accept to that format, right? Then the user, right, your person, the someone who uses the
Mm-hmm.
Innova Cloud platform, that is your person, right? You can create new
Mm-hmm.
person, update the existing one. That person group is something, an organization of person. Okay, it's a group of person, you can say it's a group. The role is like a job person might have. Okay, what he is doing, maybe it's a design engineer, maybe it's apparel engineer, right? It's a approver, right? Something like that, the role. The association is
Mm-hmm.
kind of combination of your groups and roles. Okay, this is very rarely used. Whenever you want to combine some role and group, you can go for association, but this I will say it's very rarely used. I don't have an example also. So we majorly use the group and role. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Then the policy. The policy is something how a business object will be governed, right? So all the rules for a object will be governed by policy. That means what access it will have, how the files are stored, right? What life cycle it will have. Everything is coming from policy here. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So type only defines the type and the attributes, right? And the triggers. But all the behavior, what life cycle it will have, what access, what users, right? So everything is coming from policy. Okay. So while creating object from type, you have to specify the policy, which policy that type will use. Okay. Without policy, you cannot create an object. Okay. So
Uh,
that's.
which policy means like there will be some options like what life cycle need to be selected in that policy,
You have to create
or
that. You have to create that first. Yeah, you have to create. See, for every type, right? For every type, we have different policies, right? Different type, basically different life cycle,
ah,
right? So that's why we
mm,
create one policy for that type. Okay, and we connect that policy to the type. Okay, and while creating an object, right? If there is only one
mm,
policy by default, we have to mention that. Okay, it will pick that.
correct, correct.
But sometimes what
Mm,
we can do, right? For same object, right? We can have different life cycle depending upon some functionality, right? So we can create two
okay.
policies. And while creating the object, we have to mention from which policy this should be created. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So policy
Okay.
defines all the rules like access, your life cycle, your triggers, right? Everything is defined inside the policy. Okay. We'll go through that, right?
Okay.
What policy controls. We'll go into detail. Your programs are nothing but your Java program, basically. Okay. Java, your JPO is there, your bins are there, and those are like
Mm,
used for performing some routine tasks, opening some applications, you're writing some triggers, right? So everything is done in Java, like interacting with your database events, right? So those are nothing but a program. So these are the overall terminology used in the Innova schema. Okay, so this all it
mm,
can encompasses your all the schema. Okay, someone say add some type, add some attribute, right? Create some interface, add some relationship, right? We need to create some policy, we have to modify policy, we need to write some program, right? We have to add some new roles, right? So these are the only things, okay, which we always talking about the schema. Okay.
mm.
Yeah, so these are the main terminologies we can say. This is business UI. I'll just keep that new, but yeah, I will share this PPT with you, okay, for your reference. uh
Yeah.
this is how the relationships looks like. Okay, you can find the two connection from both the side. Okay, if I go here back, right, and I will show you, right, how this looks like. uh so you will see some connections also there. Hopefully a
Mm,
relationship. Okay, you see this relationship, right? So you can connect this part to this affected atom, okay, by using this relationship affected atom. Okay, if I go to this relationship, you will see it has a basic detail, right? Then I said, right, relationship can also have the attributes. Okay, you can add few properties onto that relationship also. Okay, then there are some triggers while creating the relationship. What should happen, right? And the from side and to side. What are the objects available from the from side? So you can only connect this from side and to side. So you cannot use this relationship to connect different object. Okay, you can only connect this mentioned object here in the relationship. Okay, so
Okay.
relationship
Yeah.
also has a from and to side. Okay, remember it has
Mm-hmm.
direction. Okay? From and to. So from side only this type is allowed. If you try to connect some different object by using this relationship in a code, right, it will throw the exception. Okay, it will simply say the
Mm-hmm.
type is not allowed. Okay, so you have to
Okay.
define that. Okay, so here if you see the type changes at the from side, and this CAD drawing CAD model is at the affected side. Okay, part and part specification at two sides. So this is affected item relationship. It's inside a change actually. Okay, the change management.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is relationship coming
Mm-hmm.
from change management. So your from type is your type change. Okay, and change will be
Mm-hmm.
connected only to this items.
So,
Okay, yeah, so that's how the relationships are defined. So there are things like cardinality, revision, clone, right? I will explain this with later on. Okay.
okay.
uh, okay. So if you have time for next maybe 10 minutes, we can continue 10-15 minutes. Okay, if you have something we can disconnect here only. So we can continue, right, for 10-15 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, fine. uh this is setting password context script differences. um, Okay, so schema, right? In the Innova, right? Whatever we create this type, relationship, attribute, right? So this we usually called as schema definitions. Okay, this is our schema. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
called as schema. All the customizations, configurations we call it as schema. Okay, the specific configuration to the database, including what can be created. So this kind of definition you can go to it written. Okay, then business modeler is okay, if a software application that is used to create definition. There is no more use. Administrator is something who the person, right, the person who is creating this schema. Okay, that is called as business administrator. uh, so this is kind of we do, right, we plan and define initial matrix schema, then we map definition, test and revise definitions, and maintain the definition of the schema. Okay, it's kind of updates and all to the definition. This is overall schema lifecycle, I can say. Yeah, there are two terminologies, okay, here in the Innova. Maybe it's almost everywhere, like the two type of objects: admin objects and the business objects. So admin objects are nothing but all objects created by business administrator using business model. So this definition is, I need to modify this now. Okay, so I will say the all the basically schema. Okay, your schema is nothing but your admin objects. Okay, your type, your relationship, your policies, right, the attributes from the backend. So whatever you create from backend, those are your admin objects. And the business objects are nothing but instances created by end user. Okay, so just for example, right, the type part. Okay, the actual type part in the backend is an admin object. Okay, but when you create the object out of it, okay, you created some object from that type part. Okay, that is your business object. Got it?
Yeah.
Clear, right? So your schema is nothing but your all admin objects. So I whatever I shown you, right, like attribute, type, policies, right? So those are your admin objects, and your business objects are nothing but the instances created by end user from the browser. Okay, the
Mm-hmm.
actual objects. Okay, data. The data is nothing but a business object, and the main are your admin objects. So this is some main things what we can do, like attribute definition. We create type, relationship, interface, program, right, format. The store vaults are like very rarely used. Okay, this is some database functionalities. Okay, so vaults are nothing but where actual data is stored, your all those things. But store is something where actual the file definitions are stored. Okay, the file paths are stored, that is your store. Okay, then
Okay.
user definition, roles, group, association, policies. So this wizard workflows are no more available. Okay, this reports is deprecated. Okay, these things are no more available.
Wizard
uh
means we can create wizards also, right? In Enovia?
no, wizards are no more valid. Okay, so
No.
wizard definition was like,
Like in Winchell, we create a pop-up new UI
oh, that is
part
now say,
wizard.
got it, yeah. So wizard was there actually available, but now it's converted into web form. Okay, we have web forms now. Okay, the pop-ups and all created by using the web forms. Okay, I'll show you that. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is how a matrix schema is a collection of business type object types, okay, with their associated attributes which are governed by some policy, okay, which is contains start and end state that allows the formats. The matrix data has schema. The schema is unique to the company using database. Yeah, schema should be thought out in advance and should be documented. Okay, so whenever we are creating some new schema, so that should be documented. Okay, just for understanding later on. So this is how this your schema looks like basically. Okay. Okay. So this is how schema looks like. So for example, okay, you have a type. Okay, your type has attributes. Okay. Okay, type has attributes. Type can have multiple attributes. Okay, so that is has a relationship. Again, your type
Uh-huh.
may have methods, right? It has methods, it has triggers, right? And your type is governing from policy. So your type should have some policy which is governing that type. And what policy
Uh-huh.
defines? A policy defines the life cycle for your type. Okay, this policy will give what life cycle your object will have. Okay, the state one, state two, you can create multiple state. You can add some signatures, you can add some stater. Okay, your policy allows what format file should be checked into this object. Okay, what format this object will have the file. Okay, so this policy defines those formats here. Okay, and other thing is on this state, right, you can define the access, which role, which users have the access on this actual state. Okay, that can be defined. This kind of one picture, we can take some example here, like your suppose your type is nothing but your engine assembly drawing. Okay, that's your just drawing policy. It has some policy called as drawing policy. Okay, which is governing from this policy. This has some attribute like sheet size, drawing type, and title. Okay, suppose these are some attributes, those will your on your type. Okay, and this type is governing from this policy. This policy begins with the state like started, then reviewed and released. These are some signature. Okay, when you want to promote from started to reviewed, you need to we need to get some approval of design engineer, checking engineer, right? So you can add those signatures here, right? While releasing, you need some manufacturing and purchasing approval here. You add some signature or some trigger to validate that one. Okay, and the files allowed, the formats allowed are like AutoCAD and CAD 3, right? Those are some formats only allowed. So when you create the actual object, right, so these will be restrictions, right? Only those formats allowed, these will be state, those are some signatures, right? And these are some attributes. So you can put some value against these attributes. Okay, sheet size, for example, you can have some integer attribute for sheet size, right? And you can give like maybe integer or some real value, right? 0.1.2 something like that. Okay, so we have those data type, right? I can take you through that, right? Then drawing type, you can have some drawing type, you can have some enumeration list. As I said, right, enumeration is not a global enumeration here. We have always local enumeration. Okay, and how to add that I will show you. So you can have some drop down values for this drawing type, right? You can choose from those list. The title will be your text field, right? You can enter that while creating from the UI from. Okay, okay. That's all you have. Property page will contain, so create property page. Okay, and once you create that, it will derive from this policy. Okay, it will take automatically this life cycle, this formats, right? All the accesses will be derived from this policy. You got it, right? At least overall picture, right? We are going into
Yeah.
deep. We are at the third, fourth session, I
Yeah.
guess
Yeah.
third session, but we are going to deep. But this is how this works. Uh, so generating schema, right? Again, I'll say this is again a basic for you, like attribute, right? What attribute is? It's again a property, right? It's a characteristic that can assign to admin object or a relationship. Okay, so we can add attributes on the object as well as a relationship. Okay, also relationship can contain the attributes. Okay, the specific value for each attribute can be different for each object means. Yeah, that's correct. So however, all objects of the same type have the same number of attributes. Okay, so whenever
Mm-hmm.
you create object, right, out of type, it will have same number of attributes. Okay, because it's deriving from parent, the type, right, main type. But you can
Uh-huh.
have the different value at the object level. Okay, attribute once created are added to the database and can be used by any number of type and relationship. This is something a little bit different here in the Enovia. Okay, so attribute once created and are added to the database and can be used by any number of type and relationship. So attribute can be shared here. Okay, for example, one attribute can be used by your part as well as document. Okay, so it's there are no restrictions. Okay, same attributes can be used by multiple type, multiple relationship. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, for example, if I add this title attribute, okay, for example, I add this title attribute onto my part as well as my CAD drawing or this assembly drawing, okay. So this will be used, right, while creating this assembly drawing. It says these are the attributes, right, just fill the value. While creating that time, it will use at that place also. It's just a placeholder, right, it's not holding the attribute. So in the Enovia, you can just simply say attribute can be shared, okay. If your attribute is solving purpose, some existing attributes are solving your purpose, then simply go and use existing attribute, don't add new attributes, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you see, there are few attributes, those are shared actually, okay. So for example, if I say title, right, there should be attribute called as title, okay, this title, okay. So what attribute
Uh,
is solving the purpose? It's a basic text attributes, okay, it's string attribute. I'll say string attribute. The name is title. There is no range, it's a plain text, right, and there are things like that. So if you want to, you are creating some new type and you want title attribute there, okay, simply go and add this attribute onto your type, okay, and it will be available. You don't need to create new attribute, okay. So that can be done into the Innova, okay. And there are no impact out of it, okay. You can use one or use multiple, there is no impact. So it's like using the, I'll tell you example, okay. So in Windchill, right, you add the attribute at a parent level, right,
yeah.
and your all the
Yeah.
child type uses the same attribute, right. Is there an impact? No, right, no impact, right. They are sharing the same
No.
attribute, but has a value, different value at different object, right. So similarly in
Yeah.
the Innova, right, you can share the attribute. So you can say it's complete tree, okay, you can use anywhere, one attribute can be used anywhere, okay.
Okay.
And the main thing is they are allowing to choose the attribute, select the attribute, okay. But in the Windchill, we have only option to create new attribute, right. You cannot choose from existing attribute, right, there is no such functionality, okay. Choose from existing, no, only create attribute is there, right. Add attribute is not there, right. Add existing attribute is not there. You have to just
That
create that.
yeah, we create different attribute for different type.
Exactly, there is a only option to create attribute, right, there is no option to add existing attribute, right. But here in the
Yeah.
Innovia, yeah, we have two options, okay. Like you can create attribute, then add to the type, okay. You can, if it's very, I mean, specific attribute, right. If you're not mapping with any of the existing attribute, I mean, if any of the existing attributes not solving your purpose, right, then go for this new attribute, okay. But other thing you need to remember is, right, you cannot interfere with that attribute, okay. You have to use as it is, you cannot modify his anything, right, description type, because it is already used as some different place, right. If
Correct.
you modify it, it will impact that place, okay. Suppose you are using some existing attribute and you modify its type itself, right. Initially it was string, you did it integer, so it will impact at all the places. But that you have to be very careful, okay. That's why I'm saying you have to be very careful and use the main purpose. So for example, this title, right, so you know, right, everyone know title is title, right, it's string. No one is going to change it
Yeah.
to the, integer. So those are some kind of common attribute, like description, right. Description would be description only, right, it's a plain string only. No one is going to update that, right. Again, comment will be the string only, right. So those are some common that can be used, but for specific type of things, we always create the new attributes, remember, okay. In the Innova also, we always create the new attributes. Only in specific common cases, you go with an this integer attribute, sorry, the existing attributes, okay. So for
Okay.
creating attributes, we need to pass the name, description, what type of attribute it is, right, and the ranges. If you're creating a string list, you have to provide the ranges, right there, the enumeration list. And if you want to add some trigger on that attribute, okay, that can be done. So for example, right, object new attribute, right. So what type of attributes are allowed? Like you have this binary is again I will say not used. It's but boolean is for true and false. Okay. Then date time is for your date time storage. Integer, purely integer. Real is your decimal point numbers. String is the string. Okay, you can use any alphanumeric characters. But integer is purely integer. Real is your decimal numbers. Date time is for your date storage, okay, date and time storage. So those are the only four main attributes, okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So you have to add the ranges. If you want to add the ranges, just add the ranges there, okay. Yes, no, or multiple ranges you can add. I'll show you while going to the spinner, okay, how to add those ranges. Or maybe if I have the existing example, let me show you that. See, if I open the part type, in the part type, you have these four attributes, right? Is VPLM visible? And if we go here, you see the two ranges, right? You see two range here. One is a false and other is a true, right? So these are the ranges. If I want to add a third one, you can add it equals, put some value and create. So while creating the backend, right, to the spinner, right, I will show you how to create that. But this is how we can put false and true two ranges, and that means it should be a, what is, you see it's a boolean attribute, okay. The type is boolean.
Uh-huh.
Default
Uh-huh.
value is true. You can put the default value here, okay. Default is true, okay.
Mhm.
If I go to this originator attribute, right, it's a originator, type is string, there is no ranges, okay. It's by default some system will code will update the user, okay. Originator here, okay, clear. It's string attribute.
Mhm.
If I go to this image, right, it's a string at VPLM image is string attributes. There are no ranges, okay. Name again, it's string attribute, no ranges, okay. So that's how the range is defined, the one I showed you. Yeah, so you, this is kind of theoretical part again, like attribute name, description, what type it is, right? Then
Mhm.
default value you can put, you can define the multi-line if it's a multi-line, right? Allow for multi-line value up to 1 GB data, right? I mean, it's for while
Uh-huh.
modifying, right? It should show in the one line or multi-line. Then we can define the ranges, okay? Ranges are nothing but your local enumeration, right? Then triggers, right? Select one or more triggers, you can add a program. And you want to whether your attribute should be hidden from the view, okay? If you make it hidden, it will not be available to the web form, okay?
Yes.
Uh, yeah, so there is some dimension, okay? Dimension to an attribute. So when your attribute is of type, okay, integer or real, okay. If your attribute is of type of integer or real, you can choose the dimension field, okay. You can add a dimension to it. So dimension is nothing but your measurement, okay, the conversion symbols, okay. So these are some
Uh-huh.
formulas, okay, to convert that into formula. So thing is here that this is like, okay, for example, uh, so it's kind of conversion, okay. Dollar currency conversion, I can say the length conversion, right, to different units, right, inch, meter, right, centimeter, right. So those can be done with this dimension, okay. So if I take one example right here, let me see the dimension example. Fine. ABCD. Okay, so if I take some dimension, right, a lot of dimensions things available here. So if I go to this currency dimension, right, okay. So this T is nothing but a default value. So default is dollar here, okay, okay, and so these are some other currencies, okay. So you can define the currencies and converses the conversion symbol, okay, formula. So whenever you select that, right, that currency will be available into the UI, okay. So these all are the existing dimension defined into the system. So you can define your own dimension, okay. So if I go to this len dimension, right, yeah, this is defined properly. So you have this inch as well as meter, all right, then centimeter, yard, and these are the conversion formulas, okay. The meter is like one. If you want to convert into centimeter, you have to, multiply that in by using the 0.01, okay. Just multiply that.
Mhm.
uh, then yard, then inch, right, then your okay. Those are the conversion formulas. And you have suppose some one attribute, okay, that you want to use these all dimensions, okay.
Mhm.
So you have to use the dimension to your attribute, okay. Then your attribute will be a, you can, that attribute can be used all these conversions, okay. That's how the dimension is used. So this is some, formulas are defined here, what formulas can be used, okay. This is formulas, and this is how you can add it, dimensions. So this is dimension details. Yeah, this is about dimension. uh, for type, right. uh, So as I mentioned, right, a type defined a kind of business object, right, and a collection of attribute that character. So type only have the attributes belongs to it. So when type is defined, it is linked to a previously defined attributes that character it. So in the Enovia, right, before defining type, you have to create attributes first. Okay. So those are not like go inside type and create attribute. No, it's not like that. You have to create attribute first. Okay, and then while creating type, add those attributes. Okay, into that type. So you can choose the created one, existing one. So that's the option, right? You can choose existing attributes. Okay. Then types are
Yeah.
defined by the business administrator and are ready to okay, objects. A type can be derived from another type. Yeah. So inheritance is there. Okay. So you can derive one type from another type. Okay. So in the Ventil, right, it's a tree only, right? Where you are creating, it defines your parent, right? But in the Innovia, we are adding a standalone type, right? It's not we are not able to create from one type to another type. Okay, that is not available here. Okay. For example, I want to create object new type. Okay, so I can give name. Okay, I can give add some attribute, existing attributes, right? And you have an option to choose a parent. Okay, you're free to choose any parent. It's not restricted. Okay, you can choose from all the type from the system. Okay, so what this parent gives, okay, this parent gives you the attributes which is available on that parent. Okay. Okay, if I choose part here, it will derive my all the attributes from that part. Okay. Why it's missing? I'm missing something. But okay, so I selected part. You see, automatically the attributes from the part, okay, got added here. So you see, inherited, right? So
Mm.
all the
Mm.
attributes from my parent got inherited to me. All the triggers from my parent got inherited. You see, inherited trigger, right? So that's a benefit out of the inheritances. Okay, so you can inherit from any type. There are no restrictions. Okay, but what you get all the parent features, right? And you are available to remove, right? You can, if you don't want those parent attributes, you can remove it manually, but by default it's available. Okay, trigger also you can
Okay.
remove. Okay? You can customize at the child level, but by default it will, you will get all the types, all the data from parent. Yeah, the type can
Okay.
be derived from another type. So business object uses explicit and implicit characteristics. Okay, that, okay, maybe that we can start tomorrow fresh. Okay, thanks. But yeah,
Mm.
this is how you can create attribute type. Okay, stuff is there. So this is, I will say, this is again still we are at the very basic level. Okay, so as day by day
Uh,
we are progressing, your concept will be more clear. Okay.